Good to go? All right. Good afternoon. Trying to get everybody's attention over there, but they're not paying attention. Doug Taylor with StackVelocity. Going to jump right into the content. We got 15 minutes. Talk about a couple of announcements. Talk a little about what we do. We're a little different than most of the other open compute solution providers in that we are both an open compute manufacturer and an open compute solution provider. As a division of Jabil, we actually have a vast set of resources associated with manufacturing, global capability in 101 different countries, or 101 different sites across 60 countries, so significant capability and heritage from that perspective. Our manufacturing capabilities are also complemented with our design capabilities. So our engagement as StackVelocity with our customers and OEM partners is to actually begin at the design phase and determine what it is in market that should be or could be designed or optimized to made better, and which items in the market that exist already that we can accept and integrate into that particular solution. So we don't feel the need to reinvent everything. What we want to do is apply engineering talent and expertise to optimize and improve in those areas where it makes the most sense. So we'll engage with our customers all the way through the life cycle, from the design, make-buy decisions, all the way through to maintaining and supporting that through its life. So we have a full global services capability, support you in every region and geography in the world, both from a services as well as an integration and manufacturing capability. Over the last year, we've been focused on a couple of key areas to try to optimize and improve at least our experience and our customers' experience within open compute. The format of open compute allows for innovation, it allows for cooperation, and of course competition as well as we go through that. So we've been working on helping customers to migrate workloads. The workloads that obviously open compute is optimized around today is centered around what some of the large hyperscale customers have been deploying and in their environments. What we're working on is how do we make that a broader set of workloads, and how can we apply different customers' needs into an open compute environment. In other words, optimize open compute for your customers as opposed to optimizing your customers for open compute. Because today you kind of force fit into what's available. One of the biggest struggles is finding a competitive cost point for open compute for the majority of customers that aren't the mammoth large-scale customers. And so we spent a lot of time working with a number of partners to go and develop that. And then working with folks that aren't necessarily obvious. And so we've got a lot of different activities going on around Rugged Pod, some things with Open Power in terms of what we're doing, in a couple other areas as well. So the first that's exciting is I've talked actually a couple of summits about hat trick. First, the concept was brought to everybody in Paris, and then last year at the summit we talked in more detail. So we're actually proud to announce that as of today, we're ready for production, and we're launching this. We'll have shipments for customers beginning. We actually have some customers receiving systems now, and customers receiving in early summer. Hat trick is essentially a 50% improvement on storage over what you have today. So 45 drives in 2 OU. All drives are hot swap, so you simply slide out the JBOD and then you remove a drive and then slide it back in while the server is still connected and while the system is still functioning. You can take a JBOD and you can split it between 2 servers, so it has 2 connection ports, allowing you to have a number of different options from use cases. We also have in the what we classify as the 15th drive bay, it actually is dual channeled. So we have 2 SAS ports going to it, allowing you now to actually put 2 small form factor drives in that. So when you split that, that means I can have 7 + 1 small form factor drive going up to a server and then down to another, or I can have 14 large form factor drives and 2 small form factor drives going to one server. Obviously, you can have many of these connected to a single server very easily for a cold storage environment or something along those lines. Now, what matters is what does this enable? Because the storage being more dense isn't necessarily what the impact is. The impact is that your customers and you are now able to deploy a greater number of systems in the rack than you could today, greater number of solutions. Depending upon the combination you're trying to deploy, we now can get a significantly greater number of systems into those racks. And we begin to approach the categories, for instance, in a 1U, that we could now with 36 and a 2U. And these 1Us, obviously the 4 drive is easier to do, but a 6 drive or an 8 drive 1U is very difficult to match up today in a open compute environment. And we're able to come really close at 36 nodes per rack. 27 with 12 3.5-inch drives. So a very powerful Hadoop server, very easily matched there. And then as well as a large capacity, right? And you can create a whole lot of different comparisons here in terms of large capacity, but effectively 45 drives per 2OU gives you a lot of capacity that you can grow with as you're moving along. So this is a kind of a key part of how we begin to change the dynamics, right? We're able to get more systems into a rack, means that I can take advantage of the power infrastructure that I've invested in for that rack. I can take advantage of the space that I've invested in for that rack. So we get a lot of payback on that as we're trying to look at the cost effectiveness of the solutions. Along those lines, we've actually partnered and worked with Lite-On for a little while to create a solution that is very flexible and scalable up to a very, very high capacities so that we don't have to always jump to a new power shelf when we exceed 12.5 kW. So now we've got a lot of different options here. We can talk about the specifics when we get into the booth and talk about that. But a great partnership here with Lite-On. Very excited to have them be a part of this. The other thing we're showcasing at the summit here is actually a prototype of our hat trick compute. So hat trick compute is very simply hat trick, but we take 1 or 2 JBODs out of hat trick and replace it with a compute sled. That allows us now, when we're thinking about customer use cases and trying to deploy, I can now deploy 1 server at a time, 1 server with 30 drives, 1 at a time. So if I only need 11, I don't have to deploy 12, right? If I only need 5, I don't have to get to 6, or if I need 4, I don't have to get to 6. So very easy from a byte size perspective, a very customizable byte size. I can split that, obviously, between the 2 servers as we talk about with the small form factor and large form factor. Obviously, that does not count the drives that are in the server. And we've got a couple of different options from that perspective around 3.5-inch and 2.5-inch. This is prototype. We're going to probably move pretty quickly on this. So we're looking for feedback on what people would like to see that's not in that. So as we get into this from a prototype perspective, we'll have lots of options relative to the motherboard. We're not locked into any particular one, but we are working with ASRock in terms of their motherboard fits in there. That's what we're demonstrating. Great partnership there with ASRock as well. Again, going back to trying to drive the economics associated with open compute to make that available to more folks. And it is obviously Broadwell capable, Haswell as well, with by 16 by 8 capabilities. So, I talked about kind of in the beginning around our focus of trying to change the economics, and it's really about a top to bottom. You can't focus on one particular aspect. You have to create capability across that rack, all the way through and including the wedge switch and adding other switch manufacturers and switch capabilities in here and taking advantage of the open source capabilities that we have through Open Compute. Providing that input and that guidance through the community is a very significant part of how we can affect that and grow solutions. I already got all that. One of the other areas, and we're actually showing this at the booth, we're members of Open Power. We actually have developed a 2-socket, 2U, 19-inch Open Power box. Very, very powerful solution. But we are also partnering with the Open Power Foundation to enable access to Barrel-I in a broader sense. And so we're working with them on that and enabling the customer access. You'll see more on that over the next couple of weeks probably but you can talk to us at the booth. We've been working for a while on the bridge rack, and now we've finalized that. It's been through the certification process, and we'll be working through the contribution phase of that as well, back into the foundation, but we're ready to begin production on the Open Compute bridge rack as well. Very significant in terms of enabling compatibility and conversion within a traditional 19-inch data center. So exciting capability. And then the last one's pretty cool, and Rugged Pod is one of those developments that's come out of the community. Horizon, or SDS, known by both names, Horizon's their new name, and Jean-Marie have been working with Rugged Pod, an oil-based cooling pod that's you can throw out in the middle of nowhere, and it actually will operate and run in any kind of temperature, so it's oil-based cooling as a part of that. We're a manufacturing partner for them, and actually we're involved in manufacturing of the prototype mobile tower that was shown at Mobile World Congress. So it's the kind of things that we invest our time and resources in that have a longer term impact in the community, and we're a proud supporter of that and proud to be a part of those activities. So, you know, StackVelocity, it's a kind of a newer entity. A lot of folks don't even know really who Jabil is, but Jabil is a very, very senior company in the global manufacturing industry. And so we have a tremendous amount of capability behind us. Thousands of engineers available from resources. We, StackVelocity, own all of our manufacturing. We own all of the lines that are actually manufacturing within all of the sites. We own all of our own square footage, all of our people, and we're manufacturing on behalf of StackVelocity's customers and delivering those capabilities globally. So it's a very significant and important relationship in terms of the capabilities that Jabil allows us to bring to customers. And obviously we're very, very interested in, supportive of the community, the partners that we work with in the market in terms of what they're able to help us bring into our customer environments. So we'll, a lot more we can talk about in the booth. If you want to email, you can email info@stackvelocity.com to get more information, or you can come and talk to us in the booth. Thank you very much.